What's going on, guys? It's your boy Ricky back with another video. I know it has been a long time, but I had to take a break. I had to get away from it all for a second, and I had to take care of some things that I needed to personally take care of. As you probably can see, I'm quite a bit smaller than I was in my last video. Since my last video, I have lost around 30 pounds due to this diet that I'm trying, that I tried, and it's obviously successful, called the snake diet. If you want to know about the snake diet, I did a snake diet diary. I'll put a card up here so you guys can click on that and go subscribe to that channel. Today, I am here to talk to you guys about working at the Pentagon. Yes, that's right, the Pentagon. When I was in Germany in 2015, I got an email. And the email stated that I was being nominated for assignment to the Pentagon. I was requested by name to come to the Pentagon and work for the Army Photography Division. Now, the Army Photography Division is under the Office of the Administrative Assistant to the Secretary of the Army. Short is OAA. We're also a part of Army Headquarters Services. So that's all the big wigs, guys. The CSA, the Sergeant Major of the Army, the Vice Chief of Staff, you know, all the guys that are up here, the Secretary of Defense, any high-level military official, we service those guys, all the way up to our Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States. I got my nomination in October. I got all the information I need to get, and they were asking if I was going to be able to report by January the 10th. And I said, absolutely. At that time, it was the Pentagon. They were calling for me. So I was like, yes, I definitely need to make sure that I make and do what I need to do and get out of Germany. Now, that did cut my tour overseas a year short. So I only did 2 years in Germany because of the by name request and the nomination by the Pentagon. I've done so many cool events. Being there, I've covered the President several times. I've covered the Secretary of Defense several times. I covered anybody you name it, I've covered it. All the events going on at the Arlington National Cemetery as it relates to when they lay wreaths and different dignitaries from different countries come in, we cover those events. Now, when you get in the Pentagon, there's a lot of logistics that have to take place in order for you to even just get access to the building. Okay, so you go, when you get there, you have to sign up on all these papers. You have to be a visitor first. You have to go through and get checked and go through metal detectors and all that kind of stuff. And then your sponsor, whoever your sponsor may be at that unit, they have to come and they have to take you around to all of the different places that you have to process. Once you get there, they give you this paperwork and you put all your information on it, and they make sure your clearance is what it's supposed to be and all that kind of stuff. And then after probably, if it's done right, after a few days, your CAT card will have access to the Pentagon. Whether you come in the front of the building or you come in the side, you still need to have your Pentagon has to have that access for you to be able to get through the doors. Let's talk about travel. So when I got here, needless to say, finding a home in the 10 days that's allotted to you is very tough unless you know you want to live on post. We knew we did not want to live on post. And if you have orders to the Pentagon, you're going to end up, if you're going to live on post, you're going to end up living on Fort Belvoir. That's going to be your closest place to live. Now, you can live on Fort Meade, you can live on Fort Belvoir, you can live on Andrews, you can live on the Naval Station, I can't think of it right now, I'll put it down in the comments, but there's several bases, surrounding bases that you can live at, but the closest base is going to be Fort Belvoir, Virginia. We knew coming into the situation that we did not want to live on base, so we obviously went out looking for homes. Now, if you don't know, the DMV area is very expensive. The BAH is pretty decent. It's about $2,300. You can get somewhere decent, but you're not going to get it close to the Pentagon. You're going to have to move away from the Pentagon if you have a family. Now, if you're just a single guy coming in, you can get a one-bedroom close to the Pentagon for probably $1,700, $1,800, $1,900 and be good to go. But if you have a family like I had older kids, I needed at least 3 bedrooms at least. So we ended up moving in Southern Maryland to Waldorf, Maryland. And Waldorf is probably about, without traffic, a 36-minute drive to the Pentagon. So now once you add traffic every day, I'm probably about an hour and 10 minutes a day, both ways. That hour and 10 minutes is just one way. It's not both ways. It's it's only one way. So it's an hour and 10 there and an hour and 10 back. If the traffic's good, you might be able to do 50 minutes. Some days 45, depending on what time you leave. That's going to be the key. If you're going to move outside of the area, you're going to make sure you have to accommodate for time. You're not going to have enough time if you don't accommodate for traffic. I can't leave my house. I'm due at work at 0800 hours. I can't leave my house no later than 0630 or 06, or I will not make it on time. Because just getting to the Pentagon is only half the battle. Once you get to the Pentagon, if you're lucky enough to get a parking pass, whether in North Pentagon parking or South Pentagon parking, you're going to have about a half to 3/4 of a mile walk into work. Yes, it is a long trek into work. The Army photo, we're located down in the RDF, which is basically like the basement of the freaking Pentagon. We're all the way at the bottom, and it takes a long walk from either parking lot to get to where it is you gotta go. Once you get there, once you get all that stuff figured out and all logistics, you'll be issued a kit. Right now, at the time of this video, you'll be issued Nikon gear. So you'll have 2 Nikon D5 bodies, and those will come with a Nikon 70-200, a Nikon 24-70, a Nikon 14-24, and now because of me, they have the 60mm macro lenses that many people aren't using, but they have the 60mm macro lenses, and I like to use those for when you're doing promotion ceremonies and they have medals that they're going to get before the ceremony. I like to go in and get those real tight, close shots of the medals, and macro lenses are great for that. So you'll be issued Nikon gear. You have a Windows computer. Of course, every Army person has a Windows computer where you'll check your email and most likely do a lot of training on. And then you'll also have a Power Mac, actually it's the Mac Pro, the little silver bullets. You'll have one of those, or either an iMac Pro. You'll have one of those two as your editing station for you editing your photos. We do have Adobe, all the Adobe suite, so Lightroom is what we use primarily to edit our photos. And you have all the tools you need to go out and you have the tools that you need that you can go out and do a great job. So in the Pentagon, we shoot a lot of promotion ceremonies. We shoot a lot of retirement ceremonies, portrait unveilings. I did a portrait unveiling for John McHugh, which was a former Secretary of the Army, and his portrait is hanging in the Pentagon. And when they unveiled that portrait, I was there to take the photo of that. We also had General Ordinero, which was the former CSA. They unveiled his portrait, and one of our photographers took photos of that. So there's a lot of things that go on in the Pentagon that we're going to cover. And a lot of times, I know people think it's the Pentagon and it's going to be glamorous, but there's a lot of non-glamorous things we do. I.e. the retirement and promotion ceremonies. Those aren't great. But we do get to do other great things. We cover cordons. A cordon is when a dignitary from another country or what have you arrives at the Pentagon and it gets ready to meet the Secretary of Defense. And we'll be there to cover that. They'll have the Army band out there, the Army, the Marine, the Air Force, or the Navy band. They all take turns. They'll be out there upon the guy's arrival. And we'll have the old guard out there with flags, and they'll do this whole little spiel, and the guy get out of his car and meet the Secretary of Defense, and we take pictures of what's going on. We document the event of what's going on out there. We also do presidential cordon at the White House. So when there's foreign dignitaries that's coming to see the president, it'll be the same type deal depending on if it's a full honor or a regular. Full honor has the band and everything. So I've done both. I've done a full honor and I've done a regular one where you just had a dignitary come in. He wasn't even really met by President Trump, but he was actually met by just somebody on his cabinet, somebody in his staff. It's the same way when Obama was in office, and that's who I mostly covered I've only done one event covering President Trump, and that was the inauguration. I haven't done anything in the White House since he's been there. But anyway, but when I covered President Obama, he was always have his chief of staff come out and meet the people. I've only seen him come out one time and meet the people getting out of the car at the White House. And this was during a state dinner. And the state dinners are well documented, of course. We also document those. We just do the arrival. We do not go inside the dinner. We just document the cordon. Basically, the arrival of the distinguished guests, and the president and first lady comes out, steps to the White House, and they'll meet them, and then they'll pose for a photo op, and then go inside, and that's what we do. I still think this is a great place to build portfolio. If you're looking to have a strong portfolio as a 25 victor, because a lot of times you're going to have the combat footage, but the question is going to remain, will you actually have the other footage, not footage, but the other photos to balance out your portfolio? Because you always want your portfolio to be balanced. If you are a 25 victor, and I'm going to drive this home. If you're a 25 victor and you're watching this video, start from where you are building your portfolio, because that will also have you prepare for other opportunities. When I got this opportunity here at the Pentagon, I had to send a portfolio. And luckily, I had been saving photos from my time, from my previous duty stations and missions that I've done. I had been saving the photos. So I was able to give them a decent portfolio. I've also saw the flip side where there are other soldiers that wanted to come to the Army Photography Division. And when it came down to the portfolio, they just didn't have one because they never did it. So if you're an NCO watching this, please tell your soldiers to get a Flickr account. It's free, and start uploading their best, their 3 to 5 best from every mission that they go on, and start keeping an archive of that stuff so they can put that together. Because when you get out of the military, whether it's 20 years or whether you get out after 3 or 4 or 6 or whatever, when you go to these jobs, they don't care that you just, I was a photographer in the Army. They don't care about that. They want to see what you can do. Can you still do it? Because you have a lot of people that's still living off what they did 10 years ago, and then they go out and put it on a resume, but they still can't produce in that fashion. So make sure you always have up-to-date stuff in your portfolio, because that's going to actually help you. And that's basically it. It's just like any other duty station. I know there's a big mystique about being at the Pentagon, but it's not. Once you work there a while, it's just like any other duty station. It's just like anything else, and that, quite frankly, some things about it you get tired of, like the long walks from your car, being in traffic. All that stuff gets old after a while. So by the time your 3 years is up at this duty station, you're going to be ready to move on. But you will have a great portfolio, and you have done a lot of cool events that most 25 victors don't get to do when you come to the Pentagon. So that's one plus about it, is that you'll be able, some of the things that you do, you don't normally get to do at other units. So that's basically it, guys. If this is your first time on the channel, guys, please subscribe. We're on a mad chase to 1,000 subscribers. We are almost there, guys. If you know somebody who is inquiring about this MOS, or you know somebody who is in this MOS, subscribe, share these videos on your Facebook page, whatever you need to do. But let's get this thing to 1,000 quickly. Also, guys, if you want to be notified every time I post a video, please go ahead and hit that bell notification button. Again, guys, my name is Ricky Bowden, and I really appreciate you for watching.